So we as humans need to sit down a bit and ask ourselves a little bit question of like when last we actually sat down with a question to actually think of it by ourselves without asking AI. I'm talking about a time when we used to do tasks and do stuff by ourselves without consulting any AI. Because today most people are actually leaving tasks that they are supposed to handle with their brains for an AI chatbot like ChatGPT. Like we have people asking AI for almost everything these days, like opinions, writing of emails, essays, relationship text. Like you can complete the entire list. Everything is handled by AI these days. Before AI became mainstream, this was called asking a friend. And that friend was a human being with some flaws, but AI AI will just give you some straight answer. It doesn't care whether it's right or wrong. It will just give you any answer to actually make you happy and feel satisfied. And further into this video, we'll look into the excessive reliance on AI in present world. So let's get to it. So in one of my past videos, I made mention of me using AI as a tool to help me in the brainstorming phase of my videos. So I'm not going to tell you throughout this video that AI is evil and you shouldn't be using it because of this and that. I'm just trying to, talk about the cost of using this technology, which I feel like we don't talk about often. And these costs are not just our jobs or deep fakes or misinformation. And even if these are actual concerns that we should be worried about, there's something much more deeper. And this one is actually a little bit more personal because you see, it's actually what happens to your brain after you stop using AI for these critical tasks. Because if you think about it for a second, we are outsourcing every goddamn thing to this AI of whatever chatbot you're using. As far as it's an AI chatbot, we're outsourcing almost all our work to it, like from writing, planning to creative work. Like all of these critical thinking tasks, we just actually moved it over to AI to help us do it for us, which is kind of like a replacement. And there are memes where people actually find this for you, like using ChatGPT to actually tell their reasons why you'd like her. I don't get it. But on a serious note, we actually built a very powerful thinking tool and we're using it to replace thinking. Like, what is this tool actually doing to us? Now, there are a lot of big questions that we haven't thought about asking, and they're in the three big areas in the depth of critical thinking, and we'll touch them carefully as the video goes on. So, first is cognitive offloading, which is like the act of using the external world to reduce the mental efforts used in performing specific tasks or just like doing something. For example, like writing a grocery list, using a calendar, like basically anything you can think of. And this is not actually bad at all. It's not bad in any way. See, we as humans have always done this. In fact, it's kind of like our ability to store knowledge outside our heads. And that's like one of the things that makes us uniquely powerful as a species. But researchers have been watching for over a decade now. And when you consistently offload a cognitive task, you're kind of like asking your brain to perform that task without aid, and it starts to become a habit. And we saw the same stuff with GPS. So before turn-by-turn navigations, people used to have a cognitive map, like a real-life spatial model of their environment inside their heads. But I'd like to argue that some people still have um, this cognitive map. Studies also showed that London taxi drivers who had to memorize the entire city's street layouts had a slightly larger hippocampus than most people, which means that navigation grew their brains. And then today, GPS came, and now we can't even navigate our way back home on a different route without our phone. Even the calculator did something similar. And now we think that solving on a paper is quite slower than using a calculator, which might be actually true. Like, who wants to start doing heavy multiplication and division in their head when your calculator can just give you the same answer in seconds? And honestly, it sounds like a fair point, but the thing is that when you do mental arithmetic, you actually start to develop this sense of reasoning compared to when you just jump to a calculator and you get the answer straight up. Before you know, you start trusting everything you see on a screen, even when you're not supposed to trust it. Now, compare all of that to writing and all the stuff that we've handed over to AI. and you actually start to see that we're actually losing a lot of things. Then is what I like to call the Google effect, which was properly documented before AI even became mainstream. And research also found out that when people know that they can actually look something up easily, they are less likely to store that information in their brain because they remember where to find the information itself, but not the information itself. So let me give you an example. Let's say you wanted to find out the meaning of a word and you hit Google, you search for the word and you saw the word. Now there's a probability that you might just store the information in your head just for that time, and later on you might just forget if someone asks you. Because I mean, after all, you can just Google it any day, anytime, and you still see the meaning of the word. And fast forward to today, and now AI is here, like the brand new Google effect, but with much more damage. And I can say it's actually worse because these days, instead of you to just, look up the information, you having do all the thinking and all of that by itself while you just sit back, relax, and take the information with you. And when you do this type of stuff continuously, you don't just lose the facts, you lose the entire practice of thinking because you don't have that stamina of sitting down with a question and, thinking through it. That alone is the core of what we call intelligence. Now, imagine if we as humans lose that, how will society be like? That's why we're going to talk about the skills that we're actually transferring to AI and losing gradually. For example, writing. At some point, we've all written something down in a book, and there's a reason why we're all taught to write, which is essentially just like, putting your thoughts down in a visible format. Because when we actually put our thoughts down, it makes us examine our thoughts carefully to actually make sense out of it. I've noticed that as a creator myself. Like when I'm actually, somewhere and I just have a random idea in my head, I actually just have to write it down in my notes app so that by the time I get back home, I'll actually write it down, examine that idea, visualize it in a video format to see if it actually makes sense. And sometimes it actually works because why I said sometimes is if I actually really thought about most of my ideas, this video won't even be on my channel. Like I did not think that one through as a video itself. Now, aside from my story, when you outsource all of your work, like writing, especially to AI, you actually skip that whole examination part. Like you have a small idea, you just feed it to ChatGPT and you get your script back. But are you actually even reading the scripts to see if it's complete? And if you've never written anything without AI before, you will struggle to do it because you've never actually had to sit down to reason by yourself to, put words together to make sense of what you're writing. And students are experiencing this themselves. And I actually know this because I am a university student myself. And I actually see a lot of folks in the exam, doing assignments using ChatGPT all the time. So last semester we were given assignments to actually write down our experience at an art exhibition that we went to. And some people were actually using ChatGPT to write down their own experience. And in the end, they'll get their grades, but not the knowledge, which means next time they'll still fall back on ChatGPT without actually learning something like writing a full essay, which brings us back to the calculator again. Because you see, when you actually walk through long division manually, you actually feel the relationship between these numbers. Like you can understand the scale and all of that stuff. But when you just punch in numbers into a calculator and you get the response back, you don't actually see the scale, you don't see the relationship. And that is exactly how AI is. But in this case, what you're actually losing is your thought sense. And in the case of writing, you don't even know if an argument is weak or strong, or if the writing feels natural or off, or if the writing sounds good or is even natural. And don't even get me started with those fast and useless AI summaries that don't even hold enough information. Because reading an AI summary of something is like reading the summary of a Wikipedia article and then telling me that you read the entire article when you didn't, because you've lost a lot of information in that article. And most of the times, even though AI summaries are very wrong, They make you feel informed, like it has weight. But that's just wrong because it's just surface level information. And the uncomfortable part is that there's more to it because we actually think we're gaining more when we're actually losing more. See, AI gives you polished answers. It looks smooth, they look believable. Everything sounds clean and all right. So we just ignore it and use it with confidence. And this is called the Dunning-Kruger effect, which is like a situation where you think you know everything, but not enough to know what you're missing. You can ask ChatGPT to, tell you everything about geopolitics, and you get a 5 paragraph answer. It looks right, it looks nice, you feel informed because it's heavy. But then if somebody should ask you more, like if you should go deeper into a conversation about geopolitics, and someone asks you something deeper about geopolitics, you realize that you don't know shit. I myself, I'm never satisfied with AI responses because they are basically just summaries. Like for example, if I wanted to read about YouTube, I will go to Wikipedia and read an article about YouTube instead of asking ChatGPT because it will just outsource information from all of these sites and just create a summary and give it back to me, which does not hold enough information compared to what I'd find in that article. Now, aside from writing, AI is also reshaping how we create, especially for creators like myself and artists. And I'm talking about AI slop, which is everywhere nowadays. And it just makes content lose quality when you find out that it's AI. And this is how we recognize each other as humans in different art forms, like music, painting, video, and essay, you name it. And whatever content it is, there's a real person behind it who actually poured their hearts and time into it. That's what creativity is all about. And now, when all of this gets replaced by AI with no real human behind it, it starts to feel bland and inauthentic. And there are creators that outsource their creative voice to AI. And the problem with this is that you improve and develop yourself through practice, through failing and getting back up and learning and all that stuff. But now, when you skip all of that and then you hand it all over to AI, you are never going to learn or build anything at all because most of your work will just be AI generated ideas. And underneath all of this mess, like the outsourced AI writing, thumbnails, and all that sloppy stuff, is just what I like to call cognitive laziness, which is like that habit of asking AI for everything before you even actually sit down to think about it. And before you know it, this becomes an automatic behavior. And the next thing, you lose the willingness to think for yourself. Or what if there's actually a way for us to use this without it making us dumb? Because I mean, the printing press was accused of spreading dangerous ideas into the minds of people. Even the calculator was looked at in some kind of way because people actually thought that it would make students dumb in math. Say that TV will rot our brains. And today, we have people saying that the internet will shorten our attention span and destroy social connection. And all of these are actually true in some kind of way, but it didn't affect everyone who actually made use of it. Because these particular people actually use these things sharper and smarter. And for AI, it's definitely the same case. Because actually, think about what AI can do for students who is trying to, work on a complex idea or learn something. So let's say these students wanted to, know more about World War One, or let's say photosynthesis, and they didn't actually, grab the information in class while they were learning. So then they asked AI to break it down into simpler formats instead of searching through hundreds of sites, reading a lot of articles, and getting confused more. They can just ask AI to break it down for them in simpler forms and they'll actually learn. They can even ask questions that they were, shy or ashamed of asking the teacher in class. And this is actually learning because it's not going to make students dumb. It's actually learning in the process. And there are AI models that are built specifically for learning and even for brainstorming, like I do. AI can be used to, explore ideas and even, show you a little bit of things that you're missing in your own ideas, which is why there are people who use AI thoughtfully, to handle complex tasks without replacing the entire thinking process. Which is why I also think that just like how the calculator or GPS and all that stuff were used as a tool, AI also should be used as a tool. So in the end, will AI make us dumb? I I think it can. And I think it's already making some people dumb in some ways. But right now, it's kind of like a choice of how you choose to use it, whether you want to use it as a tool or as your replacement. And one last thing, I challenge you to actually handle a task by yourself that you've been using AI's assistance, whether you've been using it as a tool or a replacement. I challenge you to actually do it this time by yourself, because before AI, people were actually doing that without any machine assistance. So maybe try doing it. And also let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Yeah, like this video if you liked it, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos. Yeah, check out this video where I also talk about internet's obsession with AI slop. So yeah, check it out. Those are major concerns.